He flew home from his last real chance with $7 in his pocket, not as metaphor, but as fact. Years of training, a scholarship, and a belief in physical destiny had all narrowed to a single, folded bill and scattered change. That moment would later be retold alongside billion-dollar business ventures, Hollywood dominance, and even political speculation surrounding Dwayne Johnson. But between those extremes lived a quieter story of collapse, identity loss, and reinvention. This is not just about success. It is about what happens when a person built for certainty loses every structure that once defined him and must rebuild meaning from nothing but memory and will. 1. A name that carries weight. Born into wrestling royalty, Dwayne Johnson entered a world where legacy preceded identity. His father, Rocky Johnson, was already a historic figure in professional wrestling, while his maternal lineage tied him to Samoan wrestling greatness. Expectations were not spoken, they were inherited. His mother, Ada Johnson, provided emotional warmth, but stability was fragile. The family moved constantly, chasing wrestling bookings and financial survival. Each city shift reinforced a lesson. Greatness might be assumed, but security is never guaranteed. For a child, this creates a strange contradiction. Being told, you are destined for something while living in conditions that suggest nothing is guaranteed at all. 2. Instability and early hardship. Childhood for Dwayne Johnson was defined by motion and uncertainty. The family lived across Hawaii, California, Tennessee, and New Zealand, following wrestling circuits that rarely provided financial consistency. Small humiliations shaped his understanding of the world, counting coins at stores, watching his parents calculate necessities, and recognizing early that dignity and scarcity often shared the same space. His father's discipline was strong but emotionally distant, while his mother carried the burden of keeping life intact. These experiences did not feel like inspiration at the time. They felt like endurance training for a future that had not yet been explained. 3. The motel incident. At 14, in a Nashville motel parking lot, the emotional weight of instability reached a breaking point for his mother, Ada Johnson. She stepped out of the car and walked into traffic in a moment of psychological collapse. She survived, but the image permanently reshaped Dwayne Johnson's understanding of strength. It was not heroism or dominance. It was survival after breaking. That moment stripped away childhood illusions. Safety was no longer assumed, and strength was no longer performance-based. Instead, it became about what a person chooses to do after life becomes unbearable, and whether they continue forward despite witnessing collapse firsthand. 4. Football as escape. In high school at McKinley High School in Honolulu, football became structure and identity for Dwayne Johnson. His size, speed, and aggression made him stand out, and coaches quickly saw potential. For the first time, he had something that felt stable and measurable. Success on the field replaced uncertainty at home. Scholarships followed, leading him to the University of Miami, one of the most competitive football programs in the United States. He believed he had found his path. The sport offered discipline, recognition, and a future that felt tangible. It was the first time life seemed to move in a straight line rather than unpredictable loops. 5. The collapse of a football dream. At the University of Miami, Dwayne Johnson encountered a harsher reality. The roster was filled with elite athletes already destined for professional careers. He was good, but not exceptional enough for the NFL pipeline. The gap between potential and elite performance widened under pressure. He eventually went undrafted, a quiet but devastating ending to a dream he had built his identity around. There was no dramatic failure, just absence of selection. That silence was heavier than rejection. It marked the first time he had to ask who he was without sport defining him. 6. Rejection and the Canadian League. Years after college, Dwayne Johnson joined the Canadian Football League, hoping for another route into professional football. Instead, he encountered instability, limited opportunity, and growing isolation. Eventually, he was cut. With no team and little money, he returned home with only $7 in his pocket. Depression followed. He later described staying in bed for weeks, disconnected from ambition or direction. This period stripped away athletic identity entirely. Without football, there was no script to follow. The future became undefined, and for the first time, survival was not physical, it was psychological. 7. Reinvention. As The Rock wrestling offered an unexpected return, Dwayne Johnson entered WWE and eventually became known as The Rock, a persona that blended charisma, confidence, and intensity. Under this identity, he rebuilt public relevance. Unlike football, wrestling rewarded storytelling as much as athletic ability. He learned to command audiences rather than simply compete. This period marked transformation, not just success. It was where performance became identity construction. He was no longer trying to prove he belonged. He was defining what belonging looked like on his own terms, inside a global entertainment industry built on persona and spectacle. 8. Hollywood and private architecture. Transitioning into Hollywood, Dwayne Johnson slowly became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. Behind this rise was a crucial partnership with Danny Garcia, his former spouse and longtime manager. Even after their marriage ended, they continued working together, building strategy and structure around his career. This unusual arrangement reflected mutual respect and shared vision. It also revealed the complexity behind public success. Fame expanded rapidly, but privately he faced emotional strain. The image of constant strength often masked internal exhaustion, including recurring periods of depression that surfaced even during peak professional success. 9. The cost of reinvention. As Dwayne Johnson built businesses like $7 Productions, named after the $7 that defined his lowest moment, he continued navigating the tension between identity and expectation. Publicly, he embodied discipline, strength, and relentless drive. Privately, he acknowledged episodes of emotional struggle that contradicted the invincible persona. The empire grew, but so did the psychological complexity of maintaining it. Every success carried the memory of failure underneath it. Reinvention was not a single transformation, but an ongoing negotiation between who he was, who he became, and what he could never fully leave behind. Outro. What strength really means. The story of Dwayne Johnson is not simply about rise or redemption. It is about reconstruction after collapse. From a childhood shaped by instability, through athletic failure, psychological breakdown, and eventual global fame, his journey reflects a broader truth about identity. Strength is not a permanent state, but a repeated decision to continue after loss. The $7 in his pocket was never just a financial detail. It became a symbol of reduction, reset, and rebuilding. What followed was not destiny fulfilled, but meaning rebuilt, piece by piece, long after the original dream had already ended.